Translating graphs. Part 1, vertically and horizontally. Alright, so let's talk about translating graphs. What does that mean? That simply means we're moving graphs now vertically, so we're moving them up and down. Alright, and to do that, a positive number moves them up. A negative number moves them down. Now this has to be at the end of the equation. At the end. Right? It has to be at the end of the equation. So this has to affect the entire equation. Now, what about moving graphs left and right? This is done with a negative number directly affecting the x value. I'll show you an example of what I mean. But a negative number, in this case, goes to the right, not a positive number like it would seem. And a positive number goes to the left. So this seems a little backwards, but it's actually not. Okay? And remember, positive goes up, negative goes down when you're moving them up and down, but when you're moving them left and right, a negative number moves it right and a positive number moves it left. Let's look at the example of y equals the absolute value of x. Alright, y equals the absolute value of x looks like this. Alright, there's your y, close enough. There's your y equals the absolute value of x. Okay. I don't know what that was supposed to be. Okay, y equals the absolute value of x. Now, what if we wanted to move this graph? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Have it again. What if we wanted to move this graph to the right 2? I'm going to draw this in green. Move right 2 units. Okay. So, to move it to the right 2 units, 1, 2, let me make that a little further apart for effect. 1, 2, that means our graph would be over here. Okay, still looks the same. Now, the vertex is here at x equals 2 instead of over here. Now, what does the equation for this look like? Well, you remember how I said that to move left and right, you need to directly affect the x? That means the equation for this is going to look like y equals the absolute value of x minus 2. See how it's inside the absolute value bars directly affecting the x? So that's a move to the right 2. What about to the left, say 3? 1, 2, 3. So we want it here. That's okay. Well, remember, a positive moves it left. And since it's a horizontal shift, it's going to have to directly affect the x value. So again, this is going to look like y equals the absolute value of x plus 3. Okay? So, right and left, it has to directly affect the x value. So, what would it look like if, say, I had the equation y equals x squared, and I wanted to move it to the right 5 units? Well, this 5 would have to directly affect the x, so that would be y equals quantity x minus 5 squared. So this would be moving your y equals x squared graph to the right 5 units. It would keep the overall same shape. It's just that instead of being centered on the origin, it is now moved to the right 5 units and is centered at y equals x equals 5. All right. Now let's look at translating or moving them up and down. Let me clone this again and bring it with us. Alright, so here's our original y equals x. square root of x. Say I wanted to move this graph up 2 units. Alright, so 1, 2, so that means it would be right here. Okay? Now, so when you're translating up and down, your number needs to be at the end of your equation. So what do I mean by that? Well, the equation for this would look like y equals the absolute value of x, close the absolute value, plus 2. See, now I've kind of thrown it on to the end of the equation, so that indicates that it is a vertical shift up or down. What about down 3 units? Alright, 1, 2, 3, so it's going to be here, just like that. So again, the 3 is going to have to be at the end of the equation. So y equals the absolute value of x minus 3, because a negative number goes down, positive number goes up, and then negative number goes right, positive number goes left. Alright, so keep in mind it seems opposite, but a negative goes to the right, a positive goes to the left. Alright. Let's look at a different example. Let's describe the transformation that took place when we changed f of x equals the square root of x into g of x equals the square root of x plus 4 plus 7. Okay? So x plus 4 plus 7. Now, remember how I said directly affecting the x? Well, since this is the square root of x, to directly affect the x, that means your number will need to be underneath the square root, like our plus 4 here. Alright? So, this determines our vertical or horizontal shift, guys. Well, if you don't know, let's go back. If it's directly affecting the x, like these graphs, it's a horizontal shift, left or right. So that means this, since it's inside the square root with it, it's directly affecting the x. So it's inside the square root, directly affecting the x, which means it's a horizontal shift, so it's going to be moving left or right. And since it's positive, that means it goes to the left. And it goes left 4 units. Alright. Now let's look at this. Well, this 7 is thrown on to the end of the equation, because it's easy enough that we could just cover this up and get rid of it. So this is thrown on to the end of the equation. Alright, so that means it's a shift up or down. And since it's positive, that means it goes up 7 units. Alright, so to get from f of x equals the square root of x to g of x equals the square root of x plus 4 plus 7, we went to the left 4 units and then up 7 units. Alright, so that's shifting left and up, horizontal and vertical shifting. Let's look at another example. Alright, I want you to write the equation for y equals x cubed but moved left by 2 and down by 3. I'm going to make this a U try. So pause the video and write me the equation for x cubed that has been moved to the left by 2 and down by 3. Okay, so first off, we know, let's start with the down by 3. Okay, let's start with the vertical shifting. We know the vertical shifting is outside the parentheses, or it's tacked on to the end of the equation. So our first move is going to be down 3. So that means our equation is going to look like y equals x cubed minus 3. Again, we just threw the negative 3 onto the end. And our second move, all right, is going to be our left by 2. So that means that we're going to have to go inside and directly affect this x. So to go inside, we're going to have parentheses because we have our exponent. It's going to be x. It's a move to the left. So that's a positive 2 squared minus 3. Okay? So there's your answer. Hopefully you got that. If not, look, see what you did wrong, and try to figure it out.